What's up? It's Jeremy Picker from Amber Creative.
This is Deanna with In the Zoning and Print Girl Mafia.
This is Ray Weiss with Printing the Night of the Lion.
You're listening to the Two Regular Guys podcast.
Hosted by Terry Combs RG, Regular Guy, and Aaron Montgomery.
The place to be for industry news.
The best dad jokes on earth, along with relevant topics to apparel decorators.
Fashion to the people.
All right, welcome into the show. It is Friday, May 31st, 2024. How is that possible? I'm Terry Combs, and you can find me at terrycombs.com.
And I'm Aaron Montgomery, and my mission is to help you fall deeper in love with your business, and that's what we try to do over at our Success Group. And, you know, I feel like we extend that here on the Two Regular Guys podcast too, Terry. So today we have a special guest, and like, everybody knows our guest, right? They better. If you don't, you're living under a rock. But Jay Busselle has been with us many times. He's been such a value. He just brings so much value to the table every time he shows up, anywhere he shows up at. And but it's been a little while. So he had this fun idea, and we said, let's do this. This sounds great. So we're here to kind of talk about iconic T-shirts over the decades. What's your favorite T-shirt over the decade? Jay even sent us a note and said, hey, no boring polos. Guess what? But don't worry, we've got you covered. Terry went and got himself changed. So look at him in a T-shirt for once there.
Yeah, you know, I don't think I've ever worn a T-shirt on the show, but because I normally wear a Tommy Bahama shirt. So today I'm wearing a Tommy Bahama T-shirt. Because what I normally do is after the show, I take off my polo and put on a Tommy Bahama tee. But hey, I've got a couple of favorites to share with everybody today as well.
That's awesome. I can't wait. This is definitely, and seeing what Jay put together for us, really cool. To be honest with you, I've been so focused on the custom decorating piece in my time in the industry that I hadn't really slowed down to kind of look at some of these iconic shirts. And when you see them, you're going to go, yep. So we can't wait to hear what you guys, the regulators there, think are some iconic T-shirts that maybe we didn't talk about, or something that stands out for you. So
and you know, iconic T-shirts through the decades. When Jay was kind of going through his ideas, I'm like, oh, I remember that. Oh, I had one of those. Sorry, it's just me and the dogs here. So Paisley's gonna help broadcast today.
Yeah, thanks, Paisley. Welcome to the show.
Stranger danger. Somebody's walking by the house.
You just got protected from the Federation of X's.
All right. Well, make sure you stay till the very end and get your helping of the secret sauce. I'll be stirring up the sauce today. I've talked about emulsions in the past, Aaron, but today I'm going to be a little more specific, talking about screen coating. How much emulsion is enough?
Nice. So like a lot, right? Okay. No, I'm getting.
Well, it depends on if you're selling emulsion or you're buying emulsion.
Oh, okay. Good to know the nuances there. See, this is what I love about the secret sauce. We get to get into the nuances of these things. So
exactly.
So Terry, typically we would have the news segment right here, but this week we are without a news person here. Our friend Marcia Derryberry with Screen Printing Magazine is feeling a little under the weather. So she's like, I'm so sorry, you guys. We're like, hey, trust us, you get better first. And then that's the most important thing. So just,
I just assumed, since it said in the outline, no news, that no news happened. All the news was gobbled up by Donald Trump, and there was no room for any other news.
Well, no news was, actually, there was some big news. So I guess I will share something that came across my desk real quick. I don't want to steal thunder from any of our future news folks, but I got a breaking news email from actually Cassie over to Paralist, and the entire Gildan. So the Gildan saga continues, right?
I was just going to say, is this a Gildan story?
It is. Apparently, their entire board has resigned, and including the president. So. I did not read it because I was waiting to hear from one of
there's you and me. We've got Jay here. We got Eric. We could be the board.
Yeah, that's right. Give us a call. The Two Regular Guys board.
Ring, Gildan. Whoever's there still answering the phone.
Yeah, if anybody's still there answering the phone, please reach out. We were more than happy to sit on your board for the right amount of money. So
exactly right. And no T-shirts. You can't pay us in T-shirts.
No,
T-shirts we got.
We got plenty of those. We got plenty of those. All right. So go ahead, Terry.
Well, I was just going to say, you've been burning it up, man. You have another dad joke this week.
I do. I'm excited. And again, I have to send a special shout out to Michelle Wilson, and my dad joke calendar delivers again. So we are ready for the dad joke when you are, Eric. Hey, Terry. So what do you do when you suddenly wake up a billionaire?
I don't know. What do you do?
Well, you apologize for waking them up.
But
Okay. Dad. That's like a triple dad joke there. So,
exactly.
All the groans. I can hear it. Actually, I can hear the groans
through the atmosphere.
Yeah, indeed. All right.
All right. Well, Aaron, before we go any further, we want to thank everybody for checking out the Two Regular Guys podcast. We still need your voices. We would love to have the regulators participate in our new show intros. Get lots of new voices on there. Go to decorators.ink/intro and just read a few sentences to be a part of the show. Jay, I don't think you've done this, so get over there when we're done with the show. We're always looking for new guests. So if you or anyone you know would like to join us, go to calendly.com/2, the number 2, regular guys to book a future episode, or you can email us at info@tworegularguys.com with your show ideas. If you are listening to the podcast version of the show, we would appreciate you sharing the Two Regular Guys podcast with all of your industry friends so they can become regulators too. We would appreciate you giving us a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Podcast, YouTube Podcast. In fact, go to all those places. Wherever you do your podcast listening, we would love to have a review. If you're watching us live, please join in with your comments and questions. In fact, share with us in the chat what your favorite t-shirt is and why it's your favorite.
Yeah, that's I'm excited to hear about this. Like I said, I was so focused on the custom decorating side of this, right? I love my decorated polos, that I didn't ever stop to think about this all that much, right? You see them, right? We're all like that. We walk through the, showing my age, right? When I walked through the mall and then would go to the Spencer's or wherever, and you had to go look at all the t-shirts and laugh at them, or you had to, you still, in fact, our mall up the street from my house here still has that one little booth in it that's got a couple of old Hickses and a bunch of basically ripped off transfers that they're printing on the spot. And I mean, it's if a copyright attorney showed up there, they'd have a field day. But
Aaron, along those lines, I remember, and all the decorators out there, remember the first time you saw somebody wearing your shirt. But for me, the first time I saw one of my shirts on TV, and I was like, there's my, and I was in the room by myself. I was like, somebody, there's my, it's gone now. That guy was wearing my shirt.
I remember the time, we're going to get Jay in here in just a second, but while you're talking about that, I remember the time when we were over in Munich, Germany with Scott Fresner, and he saw somebody with the eagle that was kind of part of the Fast Films program, I guess, or something like that. It was a piece of art that I'd seen a ton that Scott had done. Maybe it was an early one. I can't remember all the details, but we had to stop the guy. I don't think he spoke a whole lot of English. And so he's like, what are these weird Americans doing? But Scott got
ripped off the shirt, threw it at Scott, and ran away. No,
right. It was pretty interesting. So
I still use that graphic, by the way, in my screen printing classes.
There you go. It's that one. Okay, no wonder I still remember it. Okay, now we know. All right. Well, let's get Jay in here. Cliff says, "Love my man Jay. He's the real deal, 100%." Thank you for that wonderful introduction, Cliff. But Jay, come on in and join us. Let's talk about iconic shirts. There we go.
Hey, Jay.
Hey, what's up, guys? I just got to get a quick photo of the three amigos here.
Woo! There we go.
Fired up, man. What's going on? It's
man. Good to see you
right now. Thank you for having me on. I guess it's a slow summer and you couldn't find anybody.
You sent me an email, and you started listing iconic T-shirts. I'm like, oh my gosh, this will be such a fun show. We have to do this.
Oh my God, seriously? I just nerded out for like hours one weekend thinking about all of the. I mean, I went too far back. I went too deep. So I was like, I better share some of this love with Terry. So anyway, yeah.
Yeah. Well, great to
Yeah.
have you, Frank. Frank Good's a little tongue in cheek here. Jay's the best you could get. Well, it's either that.
Wow, Frank.
So
Frank.
Frank,
As I've often
No,
said, if I had feelings, they'd be hurt right now.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, no, Frank, this is not the best they could. This is all they could get. This is it.
not at all. It has been too long. I was not just blowing smoke when I said every time you show up with value, and you've put together some interesting stuff. Like I said, it really made me think about this. But before we get into that, Jay, just in case there are a few people that have been living under that proverbial rock, tell us a little bit about you and maybe your quick backstory.
Oh, well, thanks again. Seriously, thanks for letting me come have fun, hang out, chat about this amazing industry. So if you haven't had a chance to meet me, it's or hear me, or we haven't met before, probably my loss more than yours. So but thanks again, guys. This is a lot of fun. So I'm I have a title, a VP of marketing at Equipment Zone. So Terry and I are co-workers, compadres, colleagues, comrades, troublemakers, whatever you want to call us.
All of the above.
Yes. We pretend to work over at Equipment Zone. That's what I use. But also,
Jay messaged me this morning and said, "Hey, are you going to be in the sales meeting this morning?" I'm like, "Yeah, good day off. I'm not going to be there."
No, I'm out of the office. What are you talking about?
I got two regular guys to do.
That's correct. That pretty much is how it rolls every Friday morning. I hear all about it. And I wanted to have the banter where I say, "So who's your guest this morning, Terry?" But I already knew. So yeah, and in addition to that, I'm fortunate enough to do a lot of training. So I do have my Flex Point little side gig, side hustle. It's just a really smart tax advantage so that I can have a business. So you may have seen me over the years talking at an ASI show or Impressions Expo. Marketing and branding is my jam. In addition to tacos, I'm known for hopefully some good stuff at this point in my life. I like to say, these are my promo peeps, my apparel geeks, and my printing freaks. We're all on the island of misfit toys, and I belong, and I'm not getting off. So, but other than that
analogy, it is so true.
100%. It's like, why would I leave? I would never leave. I get to wear hats and T-shirts. And and in addition to that, just surround myself with amazing friends like you, listening to Frank and Cliff, these guys, popping off. I love it. I love the banter. And at this point, it's just been a great ride. So thanks for the short intro. But honestly, thanks for having me back. I mean, every time I'm done with one of the shows, I'm like, I think I bombed. I think I went too long. I got too off into the weeds. So the fact that you guys were either super desperate this morning or hopefully this is a fun idea. I think it's a fun idea.
I think it's fun. So that's all that matters to me.
Yeah. I think it's a really fun idea. And sometimes too much of a good thing, right? So we had to let people want for some more Jay Busselle.
Oh, you guys are you're too good at this, Aaron. You're too good at that. Stop.
No, I literally take something of value away from every conversation that we have. And so that's why we wanted to have you back on. And this is, again, a really fun conversation. And so let's get into that. Let's talk about your favorite T-shirt, right? What makes it your favorite? Where did all this come from, this idea here?
Well, thank you. That's really what got me, motivated about this. It came to me when I was thinking about this new rule that I have, thanks to my family, my wife. We have the 1 in, 2 out rule. I'm not sure if you've heard of this, but anytime I come home with one T-shirt, 2 have to go. Because I pretty much have 5 or 6 drawers and a whole cabinet full of my favorite T-shirts. And it's really hard for me to purge them. And I was like, why is it? I have not worn that shirt. And I don't even know the last time I wore that shirt. But there's an emotional connection. And that's really what it is. It's all about the emotion. It's all about the psychology of what that shirt meant, where I was, who I was with, what I was doing, the community I was engaged in, and really what I call the fan factor. Because sometimes you want to associate so much with a particular audience or a particular community that you're psychologically, this is as close as I might get for a while. And so in that case, it's literally, wait for it, the common thread. So I know I worked on that all day yesterday. But in the grand scheme of all things marketing and all things branding, branded merch isn't really about selling the product. It's like building into that community. So the next time any of us takes a sip from that sleek stainless steel engraved tumbler, or you're at the golf course and you pull out your cool golf towel, or whatever the logo adorned oversized beach tote. It's summer now. It's been summer in Arizona. Seems like since February, right, Terry? But you're going to the beach, you're going to the lake, you've got all this cool merch. Don't be surprised if those don't help you remember or build memories and that feeling and that emotion and that being drawn into that community. And so that's really what got me started on this. And then I was like blown away. I'm like, oh my God, the t-shirt. Of course, I focused in on that. It could be any branded merch, but I was really focused in on the t-shirt. I'm like, we've officially found the world's greatest time traveling machine. This is like a time capsule.
Yeah.
I can go back to that intersection of emotional engagement with this branded t-shirt and just like relive that moment. And I'm like, oh my God, that's why. That's the why. It's that connection. It makes me smile. It gives me that memory, and it brings back all of that, usually really, really positive feelings. And so I guess I could close with this. You're not just wearing a t-shirt, you're wearing a memory, and that's nacho average experience.
Very nice.
Yeah,
Very
I
nice.
feel like I need to add to the lameness of the dad joke. And way, it's dropping a few puns like nacho experience and taco bout emotional selling, so things like that.
As the chief taco officer, Jay, I mentioned to you yesterday, and somebody out there might remember better than me, but I'm going to say like 20 years ago, Impressions Magazine did a whole issue on the history of decorated apparel. And man, you talk about going down memory lane. It had the Farrah Fawcett t-shirts, and it just went through everything. James Dean in his white t-shirt, and Rebel Without a Cause, and it was awesome. But I have a question.
Yes.
Do you guys remember what your first decorated apparel garment was that you wore?
Like as a t-shirt? Was it my first that I ever wore?
Let me start because I brought this up because of something I remembered. When I was like 6 years old, I had a t-shirt and it had a salt shaker and a pepper shaker, and it said Saltville Shakers. The local high school, Saltville, Virginia, is called the Saltville Shakers. I still remember to this day wearing that shirt before I ever started school, and I would wear that shirt all the time. And I thought this was the coolest high school mascot story I ever told until I met a guy in college who was from Poca, West Virginia. And yes, that's right. Poca, P-O-C-A. They are the polka dots.
Of course they're the polka dots. I was like hanging. I was like, please tell me they're the dots. Please tell me they're the dots.
And Saltville High School has closed, and it's a county school now. But I looked it up yesterday. Poca High School in Poca, West Virginia, still going strong and got a big old home with the dots on the front of the building.
Yeah.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
How about you guys? You guys remember your first decorated shirt?
What about you, Aaron? You want me to go, or do you got something?
I don't, so I'll just get out of the way really quick. Because until I came to this industry, I honestly didn't really think a lot about it. And I think that's what most people kind of like. It's this thing. It looks cool, and you might remember it, right? Like you said, it means something. My guess is, the first one that I do really remember, it probably was my high school. We were the Prescott High School Badgers. And so blue and gold were our school colors, and probably had a big Badger face on the front, right? The typical. But just to go one quick step further, what I remember most is I was totally into the whole school pride thing. Whenever we had that assembly on Friday, right? I was all decked out in my blue and gold, and I had a pair of socks that were blue and gold striped, kind of like a dress sock, but they had the toe sewn into it so you could wear them with flip-flops. And I just remember
That's
that
a
was my
very
thing.
Arizona thing, man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was just like, that's embarrassing as hell, Aaron. Why would
Yeah.
you say that?
Yeah, my son and I were talking about that the other day about, I'm sure I got bullied in the moment, but I just didn't care enough to
Listen,
be
I
bullied.
love it. No, you were like a freshman. Let's give you the benefit of the doubt. You were fired
No,
up. It was
I did
Spirit
it
Day.
4 years.
Aaron represents, man. I love it. That's the whole emotion, though.
Amen.
That's the
That's right.
fan. You were a fan. You were in
I
the
You don't
was.
seem
team.
like a "Hey, look at me" kind of guy. Oh wait, no.
Wait, no, that's different.
Yeah. And by
Yeah.
the way, for everyone who's not from Arizona, it's not an Arizona thing. So stop.
Yeah, exactly.
Trust me.
Well,
Been here a
Cliff
while.
says promo tells stories, right? And I think, that was my story. I wanted to show that pride. Like I said, I was a fan. I was proud of what we were doing there at school. It seemed like a great place to be, and I wanted to be part of that community. So
Yeah, for sure. No, it's for true. And that is one of the ultimate roles. Cliff's 100% correct. We're telling stories through branded merch. We just happen to feature the t-shirt, but it could be any real product of use that's useful. But I love the t-shirt because it's the canvas. And I also fell in love with the t-shirt. So to Terry's question about, do I remember? Yeah, I remember. I was a dreamer, Terry. I was a daydreamer. I would walk home from my middle school, the original latchkey kid right here, go Gen X. Woo! And I would walk home and we would pass the first and the original sports chalet in La Cañada, California. It was
That's
literally, it was like 5 minutes from my house. And I would walk in almost every day after school. I'm sure they were annoyed as hell. Oh, here he comes again. And I would go right down to the surf section, and they had all of these killer surf tees. And I mean, OP Pro, OP, all of the Billabong was just coming out, but Quicksilver was huge. Lightning Bolt, Hang 10. Some of these brands that have kind of somehow found their way back to Costco. I don't even know how that's possible. But the power of a branded logo and the power of emotional, they'll bring it back 40 years later. I still want it. So yes, I remember with my own money, me begging my dad for $12 to buy an OP Pro shirt. It was one of the classic iconic shirts, and or at least it was an OP shirt with the wave, the whole thing. And he was like, "No, you got go mow the lawn. I'm not giving you $12 for a damn t-shirt." And I'm like, "Okay, boomer." We didn't say boomer back then, so. I mowed the lawn, I earned the money, and I bought my first shirt, and it was a surf shirt. And it's I just have that memory. So, I mean, to me, it's about all of that. And yeah, I can, of course, through high school, Southern California, skiing, skateboarding, all of my favorite stuff, all of my favorite bands. I mean, that was a big part of the culture for me. I had 3 older sisters, and I was super jealous. And I learned early on that they used to go to concerts. And I was too young and really didn't know what that scene was all about. And occasionally they'd come back with a concert t-shirt from the 70s.
yeah.
Can you imagine having gone to Led Zeppelin or, God forbid, something like Bread? Remember Bread? Horrible music like The Best of Bread. Terry knows what I'm talking about. And
Brad, that was date music.
that was date music before Sade. Is that what you're saying, or something like that? Anyway. I'm dating myself, I know, but all of that was what I remember. The mighty t-shirt in the early days.
Nice. Yeah. Michelle says concert t-shirts is something that stood out for her. Well, let's real quick. Lori says, I totally remember my first decorated tee. My dad worked for one of the biggest radio stations in Chicago. I had an entire wardrobe of WLS shirts.
Nice. I love
that's
that.
awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, that is
WLS,
cool.
Clear Channel, Chicago.
Yeah. Brandy says, I still have mine. Rainbow sleeve baseball tee with a unicorn transfer on the front and pink flocked letters with the Girl Scout troop and number and name on the back.
Wow, Randy crushing it. Go Girl Scouts. I love that.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of surprised Terry didn't get distracted with the Chicago and try to tell me about the Chicago Transit Authority, because I know he was a huge fan of the band Chicago. And
I don't know if that is true, Jay, but
no, not true.
Not
Okay.
All right. Well, you had mentioned earlier on, Jay, that t-shirts are kind of a time capsule, time machine. So let's dive
get
into that time travel. Let's do some time travel without Red Bull vodka.
Time travel. Well, let's first set the date. Let's set the marker. So from what little research I've done, very little, the word t-shirt was first included in the dictionary, Merriam-Webster's dictionary, in 1920. And so Also, what I was surprised to find out is I had heard that the t-shirt was part of the standard issue of an undergarment for the Navy. But what I did not know was it was as early as 1898 during the Spanish and American War. Remember that one, Terry?
I remember reading about that, Jay,
Okay.
but no.
But jokes aside, I mean, that was really, that's what I've been able to research and read. Let's hope that the internets are true. But think about that far back. So 1920, the word is officially in the dictionary. And then Terry, you have already alluded to this. The white t-shirt gained that iconic status in the 50s, thanks to those. And you will remember this, Terry, your rebellious youth culture of the 1950s. I know you remember that, Terry.
Well, I was born in the 1950s, but I don't think I was very rebellious.
Well, based on the two t-shirts and the polka dots, maybe not. But we can remember those iconic actors like Marlon Brando, Streetcar Named Desire, like James Dean. Don't forget James Dean, although he made maybe 2 or 3 movies, The Rebel Without a Cause, famous posters, famous white t-shirt, blank white t-shirt. That really launched that into like this is more than just, an undergarment. This is like, whoa, that's what they're wearing. Okay. So I think that was kind of the base, the bedrock, and the start of all of this. But then we move through to the 60s. We immediately start to see some of the Vietnam War protest shirts. And during that Vietnam War era, there were a lot of slogans, being shouted: make love, not war. War is not the answer. And so I think Eric's probably going to splash up a few of those if he hasn't already. But that was kind of also the start of that protest t-shirt. And then through the civil rights movement of the 50s and the 60s, I have so many memories. And I actually don't think it was a t-shirt, but all of these, there was just this iconic vision in my mind of I am a man. And it wasn't a t-shirt. I think they were all wearing posters that looked like a t-shirt, because I've seen the posters where they have like a little neck strap, and it was worn by the participants in that Memphis sanitation strike. It was 1968. I am a man, and just seeing just thousands of those posters, but they wore it as if it were a t-shirt. And so, that probably helped kind of get things going in the screen printing era before it was quite the heyday. It was still, but that was the messaging, and those were some of those early days and some of those early shirts.
Yeah. Because that's an interesting thing to think about there too, Jay. I mean, at this point, screen printing is way different than we understand it right now. So the decoration process, making shirts like that was not an easy feat, right? You weren't just, listening to Terry's secret sauce about emulsion and making it happen, right? So
Terry wasn't teaching those classes yet, so
people didn't even hardly know what they were doing. Probably no. That's interesting. Yeah. So obviously, Jay, you and I are kind of in that Gen X. So Terry will have to give us a little more, depth of knowledge on.
In the 60s, something I remember wasn't necessarily a decorated shirt, but it was a variation on the t-shirt. Thanks to the Beach Boys, it was. I remember wearing shirts to school every day. It was like a t-shirt, but it was quarter panel button up.
Oh yeah, the Henley, the classic Henley.
The Henley, yeah, exactly. And so, especially with the stripes, a la the Beach Boys.
Oh
so
yeah, you wanted to be one of
my
the Beach
standard
Boys.
Uniform in elementary school.
Yeah, Terry was the 6th or 7th member of the Beach Boys. That's super cool though, Terry, that you have that memory, and it's things like that when we have these discussions, we can kind of pull back on these memories and remember. And I think that's why clothing is so important, and what we wear and what we associate with really builds on that emotional connection. And nothing is more emotional than the protest, right? I mean, we've seen that in the last 5-10 years. We've seen that in the last 5 months, really. So whatever that protest is, whether you're for it or against it, I'm not going to get into the politics of it. I just wanted those emblazoned slogans that mean so much to so many people in the moment, and quite honestly, in some cases, forever. So, but then we move into the 70s, the golden era of screen printed, decorated apparel. The t-shirt becomes pretty much standard wear for every boy and girl going to school, unless you had a mom or a dad that was like, no, you're not going outside wearing like that. That's embarrassing.
Yeah.
But yes, there it is. The Keep On Truckin'. I mean, technically that came from a comic in the very late 60s, but by the time it was popularized by the artist, that Keep On Truckin' and that style and that look, and that's that's a supposed original. And then the one on the right, the colored version that you can see, sorry, podcasters, if you're listening, but the one on the right is in color, and it's a faux or a, what do they call it when they recreate one of those? They make it look like it was, 40-year-old shirt. There's a name for that. It's escaping me right now.
Distressed.
Me too now.
Well, no, where they purposely make it. Yes, they make it distressed, but it's like a. Anyway, we're not smart enough to figure it out. It's too early.
Somebody will get it in there in the.
Somebody in the
Jay,
a reproduction, maybe something like that,
I
or
think that's probably
okay.
right.
the great thing about a T-shirt is at some point you can retire it. It's not a tattoo, and the reason I'm saying that is because I know someone that thought "Keep on Trucking" will be around forever. Therefore, I'm going to have it tattooed on my arm, and has since covered it with a different tattoo. Luckily, he's a graphic designer, so he figured out how to put a tattoo over it.
I was just going to say, Terry, I've known you a long time, and I've never seen that "Keep on Trucking" tattoo on you.
Well, it's not on me. It's
okay.
it's on a mutual friend of ours by the name of Wade Rowan.
I know who you were talking about. And so Keep on Trucking, but also 1970s. You cannot talk about the 1970s without talking about I Heart or I Love New York. I mean, this is just literally the story there is deep and rich. It is actually owned by the state. It was something that was commissioned by an artist. There's a whole amazing story. We don't have the time to go down on that, but Terry, we were just in New York City not too long ago, a couple months ago, and we had some time between some things that we were doing, and you were visiting family, and so Kim and I broke away, and we ran down, and there was this huge shop, and it was all just an I Love New York merch shop. Every kind of promo item, every kind of retail item you could ever think for sale with that logo still emblazoned on it. It's still a multi-million-dollar producer every year, and that's just in the royalties going back to the state of New York, because that's registered. I strongly recommend you do not try to rip off that shirt, and if you do, you will probably get a cease and desist letter really quick. So iconic.
I have a comment about that because my son Chris, who lives in Manhattan, the first time he lived in New Jersey previously, just outside of New York City, and he had a T-Jet too, and he would do shirts that had the "I Love New York," but where the heart is, it said "kind of like." I kind of like New York. Now the tourists weren't interested in it, but New Yorkers are like, "Where can I get that shirt?"
That's so great.
So he sold them online. I kind of like New York.
That's awesome.
It's still popular today. I think we should do a whole line on I kind of like, but that's for another day. Of course, and we touched on the power of rock and roll, the power of that culture, the power of music, and the iconic concert T-shirts really blew up in the 70s, and we can't not mention the Rolling Stones. I mean, to not have a Rolling Stones T-shirt on this list would be a giant mistake. According to a little research, the one I did on the left is actually a 1978 U.S. tour. The other is a replica shirt. There were many, many, many versions, and all the concerts. They're still touring. Oh my God, Terry, they're still touring. And I know how many times Terry Combs has told us about the $60 T-shirt at the Rolling Stones concert.
So, of course I bought it. It's the Stones.
Yes, of course.
Hey, I'm going to try not to interrupt on every point here, but I have to tell you this. You and I were talking about the Rolling Stones logo and yesterday, and as soon as we were done, I hung up. I had to run to the grocery store, and there was a teenage girl in the bread aisle wearing the Rolling Stones tongue logo. And I'm like, oh my gosh, we literally talked about this 10 minutes ago.
Isn't that crazy? You didn't tell me that. That's amazing. I know. I see it all the time. Thanks to Target, thanks to the internet and other places, iconic bands of the 70s, Kiss, AC/DC, I could go on and on. I'm not going to name them all, but they 70s or late 70s, mid 70s and early 80s. That was just pouring in from everywhere. And those have all come back in style. In fact, in some cases never really went out of style, but depending on your circles of influence, depending on the age groups that you hang out with, depending on if you have teenage girls or not, whether you're 53, 33, 13, you're going to see somebody wearing, a Rolling Stones T-shirt is like standard fare. That's like a fashion statement now. It's not just I went to the concert or I love the Stones, right? It's more than that. There are lots of people who wear it who have really no interest in the music at this point.
Exactly right. May never have heard any of the songs.
I'm curious if any of the regulators listening, if anybody's like thinking about the 70s, do they have like their favorite, shirt or something? I'd love to, because I don't see all that stuff on the podcast or on this live feed.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if people are chiming in, Aaron. So let me know.
Yeah.
I'm just curious.
I went to college in the 70s, obviously, and you started talking about these bands, and I've got Jay Giles' band rolling around in my brain as you're talking.
There you go. Do you have that shirt?
I've got an Eagles shirt upstairs.
There you go.
There it is. There it is.
I couldn't find all the shirts I was looking for this morning. I said I'm not working today. I'll just be in early, and I was late because I was digging around looking for shirts. In fact, this Tommy Bahama shirt, I was looking for one that tied a lot of things in for me. One of my kids bought it for me. She said, I saw this shirt and had to buy it because on the back as a parrot, but it says parrot normal activity.
Oh, it's
paranormal activity.
Yeah.
It ties into everything I love. Tommy Bahama shirts and the paranormal.
And dad jokes. There you go.
And a little tip of the cap to Jimmy Buffett. So there you go.
My daughter Riley is like, oh my God, I saw this shirt, and I'm like, oh, I have to buy this right now.
Well,
my dad.
This has happened to me on many occasions, and if Cliff Quicksell is still on live, thank you, Cliff. He recently sent me a shirt, a taco shirt, and it was customized. Somebody obviously had a transfer made. It was awesome. And so, yes, I do occasionally enjoy tacos. I don't know if the word got out. So here's my little pet therapy taco at every given moment by my side. Still feeling the promo AF moment. And so
I put you a taco shirt, Jay.
You have. I have. You beat me to it. Terry sent me a couple. It's so much fun. And thank you to everyone who's ever sent me anything taco related. I relish in it. I love it. It's the spice of life. It's friendship. I probably owe you all a t-shirt coming your way soon. So thank you for that. It's so much fun. That's kind of like a love language when you can send somebody a shirt. Just what you said, Terry. I saw this and I thought of you and I had to get it. It's like,
can I tell people what it was? It's
yeah.
There was a taco sitting by a campfire and little tacos around the campfire, and the big tacos said, and then it was Tuesday. And they got the tacos all scared.
All the little tacos like, oh.
That's hilarious.
Like, oh my God, I have to buy this for Jay.
Yeah. Well, I love it. And it reminds me of that. So
all right. So Barbara Kelly said, I do have a Stone shirt. And Barb from Minnesota Custom Made says that there's the Stone shirt. And then yes, the 70s embroidered tunics. Amy says, eat a peach shirt from the Allman Brothers.
Oh, nice. Yes.
Jay, we were talking just recently about Peach's records and tapes. Remember?
That's 100% the record store, man. The heartbeat of the mall. You'd go to the mall, but the heartbeat of the mall was the record store. And we were just talking about Peach's records and tapes, and that crate. They actually had a peach crate that looked like
I had like 3 of those with albums in them. You bought the crate and you had little nails, and you hammered it together and put your albums in it.
And Terry, if you were like me, that's also where you would hide your weed behind that little stall.
I was a good kid.
I know. Just
so Cliff says, sorry, the 70s were a blur to me. Hold on, let me ask my grandfather.
Ouch, Cliff.
Yeah.
Ouch.
That's Rena Cooper said 1978 Rolling Stones was my first concert in LA.
Nice.
That's cool.
There you go.
So and
all
then
of that's awesome.
Lori Donovan says in the 70s you could get shirts with cigarette brand logos on them in kids sizes. Certainly wouldn't fly.
I was telling Terry about this yesterday.
We were talking about that.
I swear to God, I was like, this is so crazy, Terry. I have a memory of kids wearing Marlboro t-shirts. I was like, can you imagine? Oh my God.
Oh, I love it.
Well, my dad was a minister, and we would always stop at this little store on the way home from church on Sundays, and I always get those candy cigarettes. So
there you go. Advertising. They knew what they were doing. Well, listen, there are a ton of alternatives in there. We could talk about Kiss. Huge merchandising machine, Kiss the band, but also the original Smiley Face. And I'm sorry, I don't have the original Smiley Face t-shirt here. And we all remember the Forrest Gump reference which is hilarious.
Yep,
Talk about an
that's
iconic
right.
T-shirt, and their version of that story. That's not the truth, by the way. The Forrest Gump version, but the inspiration is there, and I have it actually. Don't worry. We do have a smiley face coming up later, but it'll be the '90s version. So.
Wow.
I think Coca-Cola started doing a lot of merchandising. Pepsi was doing a lot of merchandising in the '70s, late '70s specifically, and started to cross over into the '80s. But we should move forward because we've got a couple more, and I know time is going to be slipping away from us. We could talk about this all day, and we probably shouldn't. Remember the Frankie Says? Remember all of those from the early? Oh my God! I mean, look at that, Frankie. Now, if you really know your history, it's Frankie Say Relax. It's not Frankie Says. It's Frankie Say Relax, don't do it. Or there were other versions, Frankie Say War, and there were lots of other sayings, you know. So these are pictures of the actual band, and that became wildly popular. And this was when, you know, obviously I was in my moment. I went to high school from 1980 to 1984. So I lived through this. And also when, you know, Cliff was coming back from all of his parties in the '70s, that's why we had the one and only Dare t-shirt. How cool were those, right? Not cool at all. But you want to know something? That is a very iconic t-shirt.
Yep.
And I had a friend recently in the promo space, Taylor Borst from American Business Supplies, actually found one in a thrift store, and it was the original. And she told me because it was either a Screen Stars or an Oneida tag. Remember those, Terry?
Yes.
So Dare to Resist Drugs and Violence. There's all sorts of versions of this, you know, like damn, aren't there's what is it? Damn, aren't those? Oh, I can't. Aren't those? It's not. It says. I thought it was a dispensary, but I can't think of the word. But something. It's expensive. I forgive me. I failed on that one. But there were people were making lots of knockoffs of this shirt using the same acronym of DARE. But it was about, you know, resistance to drugs, and it was about education, and it was a legitimate positive program. But it almost became kind of a joke within a joke when you were wearing that shirt. So
Yeah.
that's okay, Terry. That's okay.
No.
I was gonna say, I think I probably wore the shirt and was the joke, right? So we talked about my school pride.
Aaron went to the pep rally and got the shirt.
Yeah, man, I was on board.
Oh my God, I'm losing it.
I wasn't gonna be two shoes, so it's all good.
All right. And like that Frankie Say shirt, we also have to remember, and my kids now obviously know, thanks to Netflix and the recent documentary of Wham. We have the Wham, and we have all of those go-go shirts, Choose Life, you know. George Michael's wearing this in iconic, you know, moments, specifically in the music video, but also on stage and other places. So, and there was so many.
I do know. I was a screen printer when that song was very popular. So there's possibility I might have sold many hundreds Choose Life and Go-Go white tees.
I'm quite certain you did, and I get it. So that was about the time my bootlegging days started. And you'll remember, and I don't have a picture of this, but I just remembered this. There was a massive amount of popularity with the oh, hold on, it's going to circle back around. I read something that Eric had put in the chat from before where he was trying to help me out. Now I see it. So I looked over and poof, it was gone. It'll come back to me. But do you guys remember the Hard Rock Hotel and how popular all of those were? And they had the different cities. And so, I mean, I can't tell you how many knockoff t-shirts I did of the Hard Rock Hotel. You know, in every little tiny town, Iowa, kind of a joke, right? Like there's a Hard Rock Hotel in Dubuque. So anyway, yes, these were all popular. And there were tons of alternatives here. We could have done the Michael Jackson Thriller. If you remember, that was like 1982 and it blew up, took the world by storm.
Yeah.
All of the video games started to gain massive popularity. There were lots of Atari t-shirts running around. Don't forget Run DMC. This was pre-hip hop. This was kind of the beginning of those hip hop moments. This was like in the in the moment. But also, I know, Aaron, you were a big fan of the WWE wrestling, so you probably had a Hulkamania T-shirt, didn't you?
I was more of an Ultimate Warrior guy, but yes, the
Okay.
neon.
Ultimate Warrior guy, I love it. And I had a lot of memories of people wearing the Stone Cold Austin.
Yes,
Austin 3:16. Do you remember that? The play on the Bible verse?
Because Stone Cold said so. Yep.
That's right.
I might have sold a DTG printer to the WWE folks so that they could print shirts on demand that the guys could rip off. So
yeah, and when Terry says he might have, that means he did.
I did. Yeah. Hey, if we're going to be naming all these bands, though, aren't we going to mention the Plain White Tees?
There it is.
Wah, wah.
Why don't you show us one? Isn't that one of your favorites, the Plain White Tee?
Speaking of that, the tuxedo shirt.
Look what he's wearing. You see it?
I did.
Aaron switched.
There.
Oh yeah.
The tuxedo
my
shirt.
God.
I think that one. That's one of the reasons I love the t-shirt industry. Right? We can get formal without getting formal.
I love that. You just earned so much mad respect for me because I wasn't paying attention and I'm going back and forth between my notes. So sometimes I'm not even watching and I'm just going through. And then all of a sudden I pop up and there he is. Aaron, for those of you who can't see or you're listening onto the podcast, Aaron just put on the classic tuxedo t-shirt, which is awesome. Well done, my friend.
Worn yearly at the Reggie Awards.
Yeah, for sure.
So
all right.
great.
Well, let's take a quick break here. So we're kind of sitting in the 80s. Let's just chill in the 80s. It was a great decade, I believe, right? So let's take a quick break here and then we will come back. So Eric, when you are ready, we got one more week until my event coming up next week. So let's hear about that. Small business owners, your chance for transformation is right around the corner. There is less than a week left to get signed up for the Fundamentals Live. Now, I don't have a lot of time here, but let me share with you a couple of the main takeaways you're going to get when you join us in O'Fallon, Missouri on June 7th and 8th. You're going to align your purpose and clarify your reason. You're going to unlock your potential. You're going to become a goal-getter. You're going to design a business that you love. You're going to start the momentum for a business and marketing plan. And you're also going to leave with a personal action plan and a priority management system. And we're going to close it up with a future you party where you're going to be so motivated, so clear on your vision that you can't wait to get started and fall deeper in love with your business. Come join us at osg.link/funlive or reach out to me and let me know what questions you have so we can make sure that you have the tools and resources you need to fall deeper in love with your business. All right. I love it. We got Jay. Oh boy. All right. We're going to have to talk about that in 1 second here, Jay. Oh my gosh. That's perfect. So Michelle Wilson is actually going to be one of the folks at Fundamentals Live this next week. And she says, I need to make one of those tuxedo shirts for Saturday night for my husband. So yeah, we're doing a future you party. I mentioned it in the little promo there, and just an awesome way to really kind of solidify how you're going to achieve the things that we want to achieve. And so a tuxedo shirt seems perfect for that, Michelle. I love it. Love the idea. All right. You're on fire, Jay. Should we call
I am on
the
fire.
we
For
need to
those
call
of you who
911
can't see,
here?
you're listening to the podcast. I've switched into this is almost like a t-shirt. It's a sauce packet from Taco Bell, and I put it on. It's the fire sauce packet, so you can't quite read it all, but there it is, folks. Hot stuff right there. I better not go any lower. That would be awkward. But yeah, I just think it's so much fun. All these memories, and thank you for everyone who's kind of chiming in. I'm sure it's a memory maker, and that's really when we go back to the purpose of what merch is supposed to do, telling a story, reliving an experience, or building on an experience. And so, we're entering in the 1990s.
Yeah.
We should just kind of push through. We've got a couple more here. We won't take out the rest of the time here, but I can't think of a more iconic to reference back to the 70s and then bring it forward to the 90s. The smiley face Nirvana shirt is definitely going to be the leader of the 90s. And there's lots of controversy on the internet whether who designed it and how it got designed. But the reality is I still see this shirt all the time. So
I saw someone wearing it yesterday, and by the way, it was I believe a 4X. Just saying.
okay, Terry, thanks for the commentary. But it's the iconic smiley face with X's for eyes. It has the the wavy mouth and the tongue sticking out. So we're not sure if there's a reference there to anything other than good times. But originally created, some thought it was Kurt Cobain, the lead singer of Nirvana. It came out later because there were lawsuits involved. Somebody at one of the record companies said, no, I actually created it. Because imagine this. Marc Jacobs, the fashion designer, wanted to do a knockoff of that shirt, and instead of the crosses for eyes, had an M and a J for Marc Jacobs. So that's how popular these shirts are, and that's the multi-millions that are surrounding it. When you have an iconic shirt, bring out the lawyers. And so finally, the Cobain family is like, oh, well, we don't think we actually own the rights to that, so we're not sure who's suing who now. So anyway, what a mess. The grunge movement, just classic grunge movement, 1990s. That's one that I picked. That was the main one I picked from the 90s. But guys, there were tons of retail shirts now. Tons of retail shirts like Calvin Klein jeans. I mean, you could start to see brands saw the power of this. And if they were a popular brand, like Calvin Klein was huge in the 80s and 90s. So yeah, they would just have shirts that said Calvin Klein jeans.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's really interesting, right? You're exactly right that they saw that power. I mean, we were basically walking around promoting their brand.
Yeah.
Massimo
exactly
is the
right.
one that stands out for me. I wore a ton of Massimo because that was what was in Dillard's, and that was where we ended up going to shop when I was younger.
100%. You became the walking advertisement for a brand, and it created a culture. They created the community, and you had some affinity to that brand, and you wanted to associate with that brand, and you became the fan. So t-shirts and the apparel decorating industry, and all of you that are merch mavens, I mean, this is the emotion that's tied to it. We are fan factories.
Yep.
We create fans through apparel or other items. It's not always a t-shirt, obviously, but that's what we're talking about today. And so that one really jumped out at me, the smiley face Nirvana. Of course, like I said, we could have other alternatives. Hip hop was in full-fledged blow up mode, Snoop Doggy Dogg. And that's with 2 G's, Terry. 2 G's, double G. Snoop Doggy Dogg. D-O double G. So Tupac, all of the crossover with NWA, I'm not going to tell you what that really stands for, but their association with the Oakland Raiders blew up the Oakland Raiders. Not that professional football teams and professional baseball and hockey and all of the leagues, all of the teams are popular from the early 70s on. But when rappers crossed over and purposely associated with the pirate theme and that whole kind of culture of the what the Raiders represent, the Raiders gear exploded. It was nuclear. So I mean, imagine that, everybody at school wearing a Oakland Raiders hat, and it's like, last week you were cheering for the LA Rams. Remember when the Rams used to? I know, Terry, they moved from St. Louis and they came out to LA. So anyway,
originally in LA,
I can't associate it with anything in the Raiders Nation.
He's not a part of the Raiders Nation. He's part of the other tribe.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Chiefs
For the podcast listeners, that's Terry's Kansas City Chiefs shirt. Excuse me.
How many Kansas City Chiefs shirts do you think you have, Terry?
I probably have a dozen.
Yeah, I mean, real fans don't have one. Real fans have dozens. Call it what it is. Yeah, love that.
I was actually wearing this shirt one day, and somebody came up to me and said, "Well, I know you're not a bandwagon guy because that shirt's been around for a while."
I love that.
So this shirt is from the lean years.
The lean years. No, and I brought one too. I brought one of these. This is the power of most people know I'm a pretty big Phoenix Suns fan, and so this is an iconic logo. It's an older logo. I love those vintage logos. I love those 70s era logos. The same with the sports, the original New York Yankees, and seeing things in pinstripes and seeing all that nostalgia that's built around it, and then they bring it forward. It's amazing. If you want to see a masterclass in branding, go check out the retail version, the retail line of New Era caps. They have to reinvent themselves like every month, and they're constantly doing it. And how do you reinvent the New York Yankees logo? You don't. You just surround it with other new, fresh ingredients. And so it makes it fresh and fun and new again. So, but yeah, so there's that. I mean, come on, let's talk about cartoons. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, boom, that blew up. That was a 90s era. So, I mean, we could keep going, and we should keep going, right, Aaron? As just keep
We should. Well, but let's turn the corner, right? Okay. The 1990s, I think what we're kind of saying is that t-shirts really blew up in the 70s, had a nice heyday, 80s, 90s. But I mean, we're still, let's talk from the turn of the century into the present here.
Well, yeah, let's start that. So I don't have a Y2K shirt, but there was a lot of panic about Y2K. Like, if you were, Prince writing the song, let's party like it's 1999. Well, he wrote that song way earlier than 1999. And so all of that being said, there are too many. And so for me to pick out 2 or 3, I was like, okay, I think I can do it. I'm sure others will have other opinions that are right. And this is not an either or, this is just a preference thing. But I couldn't stop thinking about that's what she said. And the popularization of memes because of the internet. So we were transitioning away from kind of traditional television, and we started to have the internet age take over through the 90s and certainly into the early 2000s. And all of that became that's what she said. So we've got The Office and all of those memes. Michael Scott, and how funny is that's still relevant, still funny, people still laugh. It's the inside joke that's not an inside joke anymore. It's some people are offended, some people laugh, some people don't get it, some people I've seen shirts that say just the word what in quotes, and then below it, like somebody said it, she. Like, that's what she said. She said what? Get it? So yeah, if you have to explain it, maybe not so funny, but wildly popular, right?
Yeah, super popular.
And that's been around. It's playful, it's funny, it's kind of that irreverent nod to the show's humor. But the next one is also from a movie. Many people are fans of the classic cult film Napoleon Dynamite. When it first came out, it was kind of a slow burn, and then it just took off. But vote for Pedro. I see that shirt every Halloween, and there are versions of it, lots of versions of it.
And it's heat transfer vinyl, Yeah,
100%. It might have even been just a puff, like a screen print one color puff transfer, right?
Yeah.
So
yep.
I don't know.
Flock, actually.
Maybe it was. Maybe? Yeah, who knows?
That's a ringer tee too, by the way.
It is a ringer, and that's an anvil ringer. It's a classic. It's the original. So you've got that going. That's just wildly popular. So again, these iconic t-shirts that cement back to a moment. That movie's been out for a long time, guys. It was 2004.
Wow.
Feature Quesadilla.
Oh my God. So, and then we kind of fast forward into the 2020s, right? And so I decided that we could all have very fresh in our memories, for good or for bad. Again, not to stir the pot or get political, don't really want to bring up the COVID-19 coronavirus pandemic and all that, but this is my quarantine shirt. And all of the versions of that we saw online while people were in their Zoom calls trying to figure out Zoom, wearing their pajama tops or their shorts or their pajama bottoms. But this t-shirt and various versions of it became quite popular, and a funny nod to, hey, I'm dealing with this. This isn't easy. I acknowledge that the circumstances suck, but at the same time, I got to push forward, and I'm going to do it with some sass, tongue in cheek, my way of saying, F you coronavirus. And this shirt became kind of a lighthearted symbol of resilience, kind of a, hey, we're in a really shitty time, but let's push on. We got to do what we got to do. I'm going to make a few laughs and move forward. So this is my quarantine shirt, was the one I thought, for the 2020s, we might want to touch on that. So anyway, that's what I had prepared for today, gentlemen. I hope you enjoyed the ride.
That was an amazing ride. I'm curious, the regulars that are tuned in here, tell us what ones do we miss? What ones are standing out? Because one, when you brought this up, I did go and try to look a little bit just to, because again, I hadn't really even thought about this stuff. One that stood out to me that I didn't put in the notes, but the Keep Calm.
Yes, I had that. That was originally, Terry can tell you. You're right, Aaron. All of the versions of Keep Calm.
Yeah, but here's the interesting part. That we thought that was a thing that happened in the 2000s, but when I looked it up, it was actually created in the 1940s to raise morale in the British Army.
Right.
Yeah, right.
I did not know that. I really just thought that somebody, because I never kind of, what's the crown for? It's just kind of in passing.
Yeah, why the crown? Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
now I get it. Yeah, it was a total war poster. It was a promotion. It was the British way of saying, we will prevail. And think of that through, Aaron, it makes me remember all of the early, World War II posters, Uncle Sam, we want you, all of that stuff, the recruiting, and those slogans have become shirts thereafter too.
Yeah. Lori says, Luke and Laura General Hospital tees were huge in the early 80s.
She's not wrong.
Laura.
Yes. And the song, don't forget there was a hit song. Thank you. Terry, can you name the band of who sung that Luke and Laura song?
I don't. All I'm picturing is Luke's.
You have that Christopher Cross T-shirt in that drawer. I know you do.
I might have crisscross.
Crisscross. All right, I got another one for you guys. While we're just a couple more down memory lane here. I'm with Stupid.
Yep. Definitely, it was on my list. Yes, I'm with Stupid. I love that.
And then the other one this was just my own personal thing, because again, I was like trying to remember like what shirts stood out to me. It wasn't necessarily the decoration, but the hypercolor shirts. I thought those were the most amazing thing.
Touch them and they would change color, right? It was like yes.
Looking back, like in the moment, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is the most amazing, cool thing. But now looking back, it's like, oh yeah, so you just had these ugly pit sweat looking.
I forgot about that. That's so funny though, because I think I saw that somewhere on a list too, and I was like, I remember it, but nobody I knew had one. Like we all thought it was cool, but nobody I knew would ever wore one or bought one that
Yeah. I had one and it got like a hole in it right away. I think they were actually probably crappy shirts, to be honest with you, as far as quality. But I got a hole in it right away, and so I barely wore it.
Oh, that's so great. I'm glad you brought that up, because it's things like that where we can say, okay, again, that was about marketing. That was about branding. That wasn't just about selling the product, although the hypercolor shirt might have been just about selling the product. But but still, you remember it, and it's on lots of people's lists. It's about the community. It's about figuring out ways to tie back something, and that's why I think the T-shirt is the perfect time traveling machine. And I'm a fan. Always have been. I always will be. From early on, thinking about those early surf shirts for me, and for everybody else that's in the industry, it's probably something else, right? You can remember those early moments when you were like, "This is so cool. This is so cool."
Yeah, for sure. I would guess, like you said, surf stuff, bands, probably a lot of band folks that we see in our industry, so love that.
Well, here's a shirt that I don't really know what it means, but Wade made it for me at a show, and it's an eye and a beer mug in beer trade shows. And I used to wear this on first day of setup every trade show. And I like I said, I don't know what it means, but I loved it when he made it for me.
I love the fact that it's just a personalized shirt. Again, it's like when Terry sends me a shirt, or Cliff sent me a shirt, or others that I haven't named. Thank you. And it's so funny that you have that, because I've seen you wearing that shirt, and I've always thought that's hilarious. Beer trade shows. It's like, I love trade shows, Terry. Do I have to explain it to you?
Well,
and we know how much you love trade shows,
especially setup.
I need a beer for trade shows, I think, is what that maybe was some missing words. All right, Jay, this has been fantastic. Thank you so much for taking us down this trip down memory lane here. Tell people where they can find out more about like your side gig, or what's going on in your world right now.
Visit us at Equipment Zone if you have questions about digital printing, direct to garment printing, direct to film printing, all of that. Give a call out to Terry. Quite honestly, don't call me. Terry knows what he's talking about. I just pretend. So he actually has to know the facts. I get to spin the facts. But equipmentzone.com. You can also follow me on LinkedIn. I mean, that's really where my jam is. That's where most people know. I love Instagram, and I'm often distracted by Instagram, but LinkedIn is where I'm a little bit more serious, and I think it's just an opportunity to be a part of this. I hope we can get together and have this conversation again. Maybe, I don't know, to see how popular this was, but it was a lot of fun. So thanks for giving me the platform to chat about it, to talk about it, and for us to present and wear some shirts, and for me to show up in a sauce packet. I mean, I kind of thought I'd get a little bit bigger reaction out of you guys, to be honest, but I guess you can't see the full effect, because it actually goes to my knees And the whole thing, it's got the Taco Bell logo on it, and it's got the little sauce packet that says,
maybe that should be the parting shot, Jay. We'll get you full screen. You can back up. We can see the whole thing. Let's do that.
There was no shock factor for me because I've seen you wear it.
There you go.
Not sitting this one out with the Taco Bell logo right there.
Yeah, there we go. All
Fire.
right.
How about that? Get that as a screen capture.
Yeah. Jay, you were the man. Thank you, sir. Have a great weekend.
Talk to you later. That was awesome.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
That's one of those things you could just talk about for hours.
Yeah, for sure. Wonderful. And thanks everybody for jumping in and being part of the comments. Brandy says, boom, fist bump, got all the good stuff in there. So, yeah, I love that. It was really cool. And like I said, I hadn't really thought about that, right? Like, it, right? It's kind of inside of you and you think about it. Cause yeah, you do kind of have a fondness for these shirts, but I guess I didn't really understand all the history and every single one of those. Yeah. Brought up like, oh yeah. Remember that. You kind of almost go like, I remember where I was when I saw that for the first time kind of thing. Right. So, which again, talks to our industry and talks to what we're doing. I think, what Jay's so good at doing is telling that story in a fun, entertaining way. We're talking about different t-shirts, but really what he's telling us is what you do when you're making a t-shirt means more than just making a t-shirt.
Exactly right.
Telling the story. And
exactly.
Jay's so good at helping us understand that at a deeper level. So
awesome.
Yep. All right. Well, on the road here, Terry, I've got, can't believe it, like you said, May 31st already. So in about 2 weeks, I will be in Long Beach, California at the Graphics Pro Expo, and I will be teaching how to master pricing for profits. And so that's happening on June 15th. And head over to graphics-pro-expo to check that out. Going to be some great training going on over there. Recently, my wife and I launched a new program called Breaking Barriers. So if you're in a place in your business or personal life where you're kind of feeling stuck or you need to identify and rewrite a limiting belief, this particular course is for you. It's at your own pace. Do it at home in a safe, comfortable environment, but you've got all the tools and support to really just go dig into any limiting belief that you might have. So it's currently out there for an introductory price. If you'd like to check it out, osg.link/unlock. And you can go check out that program. And if you have questions about it, certainly let me know. The book, the Fundamentals, I had to grab it. It was down there. Fundamentals of Business Success. You can get it in paperback or ebook format still. And just continue to be blown away by the comments and the feedback that I'm getting from folks about the content and about what it's done, made them rethink some things, look at some uncommon mindsets, so to speak. And so I've just been really enjoying kind of building, how do we build a business that we love, right? I talk about that all the time, but what's the how-to? And I feel like we've got a format here in this book. So if you want to check out the book, it's osg.link/FBS. And then the last thing for me to share, Terry, would be come join us on our Facebook group. We've got a wonderful group. It's called Fall in Love with Your Business. So if you go to facebook.com/groups/Fall in Love OSG, just a great place to have different perspectives, good, deeper discussions. It's more than just the surface level stuff that you'll find in some of the groups out there. And there's certainly no drama. We go deep. We support each other. A rising tide truly lifts all boats there. So come check it out. We'd love to have you over in that group. But what about you, Terry? What's coming up for you?
Well, my complete screen printing business course, I'm going to be in Chicago, not this weekend, but next weekend, June 8th and 9th. But that class is sold out. It's been sold out for a couple of weeks. My next available class in Chicago will be August 3rd and 4th. I'll be at Workhorse Products here in Phoenix, August 24th and 25th. So it'll be a little toasty here. We'll encourage everybody to drink a lot of water being in Phoenix in August. I'll be at the Equipment Zone booth at Graphics Pro Expo in the greater Philadelphia area, July 10th through 12th. And I'm going to be talking DTG and DTF printing at Impressions Expo in Fort Worth, October 24th, 26th. And I guess it's time to start talking about, I'll be in the Equipment Zone booth at Printing United in Las Vegas, September 10th through 12th. And of course, Aaron and I will be recording a live show there as well. And look for all my upcoming events at terrycombs.com.
Excellent. All right. Well, if you're looking for Eric Campbell, you can find him over at ericcampbell.com. You can tune in today at 2:30 Mountain Time. And today's episode 191. It's the good and the bad from the ugly. So I had to make sure I read that right. The good and the bad from the ugly. Eric's going to be breaking down some of his oddest designs from his commercial career and see what they can teach us. So if you'll head over to ericcampbell.com, and there'd be a revisited post on the subject, and you can just join in on the fun, hit the take up tab, and you can see all the past 190 previous episodes of amazing, like 201, 301, 501 level courses, all for free. It's incredible, the content that Eric's got over there at ericcampbell.com and all those take up episodes and everything else that he's done. So thank you for giving so much back to the industry. Terry, speaking of giving back to the industry, we're hungry. We need some sauce here, buddy. You ready for a little secret sauce?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
Okay.
All right, my secret sauce today is screen coating. How much emulsion is enough? So if we lined up 10 screen printers with a range of experience from a year to 20 years, 30 years, and we asked each one of them how they coat their screens, we'd get 10 different ideas. One might say, I coat once on the print side and twice on the ink side. The next one might say, I coat once on each side, let it dry, but put 2 more coats on the print side, and on with no two the same. So when we're talking about coating a screen, what we're saying is we're putting a wet emulsion into a scoop coater, and we pull it up one side of the screen and pull it up the other side of the screen. And what we're doing is depositing emulsion on the screen mesh. Sorry, everybody, that's the dog. After the emulsion is dry, we expose that screen with a film positive and UV light. And wherever the light touches the screen, the emulsion hardens. Where the light is blocked by the film positive, the emulsion stays soft, and that portion of emulsion washes away with warm water. So why are there so many different ways? That people coat screens? So there's a couple of reasons. Sometimes, depending on the ink you're using, you may want a heavier laydown of emulsion to increase the amount of ink that you can deposit on a garment. That's usually with some type of specialty ink. In my opinion, the most common reason is a Band-Aid for pinholes. Pinholes are those tiny holes that open up during production. The true fix for pinholes is properly degreasing the screen before coating rather than pile on lots of emulsion. Here's how I coat a screen. Based on coating tens of thousands of screens over the years, I coat once on the print side and once on the ink side, and I don't really even care which side I coat first. The secret sauce is drying the emulsion, not which side you coat first. After you coat the screen, you need to dry it in a drying rack, just the way that it comes, just the way you load it onto the press, ink side up, print side down. In the rack, the wet emulsion will migrate through the mesh and give you a heavier deposit of emulsion on the bottom print side of the screen. This heavier deposit will give you a very soft surface where the screen comes into contact with the garment. So coat your screens once on each side, dry in a rack, ink side up, print side down. That's my secret sauce for today.
Here we go. We're out.
Oh my God.
Paisley Joe was ready to go.
Oh, holy cow. Kim has been gone all week in California. Her son Mason graduated from high school this past week, so they went to California for a week of fun in the sun and coming back tonight. But so therefore, I have to have my doors open, or the dogs just scratch at the door to get in.
All good.
So hopefully everybody can hear me.
Yeah, we heard you. We got it. So thank you for that wonderful secret sauce. Great information. I think you're right. Like, again, I'm not a screen print guy per se, but I've heard probably, from 20 different people, 20 different ways that they coat their screen and et cetera, et cetera. So really good information. Thank you for that. Thanks to Jay Busselle for his time today and for just what a fun topic, Terry. I really enjoyed kind of taking that trip down memory lane. I don't know if you guys noticed if you're watching the video, but I did change shirts again. So I'll see if I can get it on screen here a little bit better. But thanks to Jay for the wonderful show here.
Awesome. We also want to thank our show producer, Eric Campbell, for everything he does to keep the two of us on track every week.
Yeah, pushing all the buttons, and when we do crazy things last second, like, hey, I put on a shirt, I want to show everybody, it miraculously happens. So, Eric, high five. Thank you, sir. That's the high five. That's a round of applause. So next week we are efforting. I will be getting ready for the event that I have happening next week. So we'll see what we got going on, and I may or may not be here. So we will just kind of have to play it a little bit by ear, but we've got something good in the works for you, I am sure. So tune in next week at 10 a.m. Central Time.
Eric, be prepared.
Yes, that was kind of my warning.
He's Aaron Montgomery.
That was the Two Regular Guys.
Here we go. We're out.
Awesome.
Thank you for listening to Two Regular Guys. Check out our website at tworegularguys.com. That's the number 2, regularguys.com. You can also interact with us over at our Facebook page, facebook.com/tworegularguys, or send us a tweet, twitter.com/tworegularguys. And we have a YouTube page. You can find all that from our website, tworegularguys.com. Thanks for tuning in, and we look forward to spending some time with you again next week.